Hello and welcome to another update video about Ethereum. Ether dipped into the lower support area yesterday. We talked about it already in the last video that the direct breakout scenario, the triangle I was tracking as another potential, the market ruled that out, okay? And however, the target area for this yellow C wave to the downside that we talked already about, I think in the last video, no, in the first video yesterday, that was reached here. The first target for yellow wave C, that was at $3,622. Price did go just below that, but found it reacted to that level. It's a common projection. The thing is that let's say there was a volatility event, you could say a small liquidation event, right? So sometimes when the volatility is so high, of course, the market might briefly break below. In fact, that's also why there's not only one Fibonacci level, it's a bit of a range. So the overall support area for this fourth wave is still between 3,209 and 3,644 USD. Well, I have to say though that ideally the price holds here, so it doesn't break below it. Doesn't mean we have to go down to that level to test. No, it's the entire box. It's the entire box that's relevant. So we could turn around earlier, right? We could turn around earlier. The 38.2 Fib level is normally the ideal target for a fourth wave. The 50% is okay. The 61.8 is already deep. But because this could be a diagonal pattern that's happening here to the upside, I have to consider the golden ratio level as well, even though I don't really like that as a wave 4. But we often have it that in diagonal patterns, a wave 4 and a wave 1, they overlap. And that would happen if the price breaks below the 50% Fib level, okay? But still it would indicate weakness. In crypto, it's a little bit different. So in crypto, we don't get these overlaps between a wave 1 and wave 4 as often as maybe in other markets, okay? So that just has to do with the fact that the third wave usually is so strong in crypto, okay? So you might know it. Sometimes I get the comments from people who know the rules, Elliott wave and guidelines. In the Frost and Prechter book, they talk about overlaps between waves 1 and 4. Well, they don't say it's a must. That's one thing. And the book was written like way before cryptos actually came up, okay? So yeah, also in that book, they didn't really deal with diagonals a lot. You know, it was still a new concept back then. But, you know, they are more and more apparent, especially in the crypto sector. But the third waves are very aggressive also in diagonals in crypto because the C waves often are impulses. So you tend to sometimes just get non-overlapping diagonal patterns, something very common that also more and more Elliott wave analysts acknowledge, you could say. You know? And because essentially you can't count this as an impulse, right? It just doesn't. I mean, how? Okay, so you have clearly three waves up here, okay, A, B, C, and this is also a three-wave move, right? So there has to be this concept of non-overlapping diagonals, which I don't know if anybody else talks about that really in that much detail, but people ask me, you know, don't you need an overlap? And I often say, no, you know, it's you know, it's not impulsive, so it can only be a diagonal, well, or a correction. And yeah, the subwave is impulsive, the C wave, so it can only be a diagonal unless you invent something completely new, but that's pointless because it's got the structure of a diagonal. So the target box here, okay, was reached basically. That's just an additional area of interest to watch in this support area because the support area is so large. Okay, we have 4 Fib levels to watch there, but we want to, whenever possible, reduce the, how should I say? We want to reduce the uncertainty as much as possible. Now, Elliott wave, like any other method, it won't give you certainty, but we can reduce the uncertainty, which is part of financial markets to a degree, that we can make more informed decisions, better informed decisions. So if this is now a decline in wave C in yellow, in the yellow count, we might see one more low. But I explained to you in the last video that the first initial resistance is the 50% Fib level at 3,708. Now I have to say this here it might be a 5-wave move. Yeah, it might be, but it's too small because it hasn't broken above resistance. So to let's say start to rule out the yellow count, I need a break above 3,709, but a sustained break. So it's not like if we go to 3,715, oh, the low is in. It causes me to watch, but I've added 2 more fib levels here because it could be that we're dealing with a different type of C wave down. We often see it. So the C wave actually unfolding still. Yeah. This would be the white count. I just showed the subwaves count, subwaves here. And the resistance is here between 3,738 and 3,781 for that white count. It's based on the assumption that we could be in a larger B wave within wave 3. So it's just a different way of looking at it, because this wave 1 was in 3 waves. I did write that actually yesterday. And therefore, because this decline looks like a 3-wave move, I might have to consider that the third wave is also a 3-wave move as an A, B, C structure. So what might actually happen is that over the weekend, Ether is working on this diagonal pattern, yeah? A, B, C, and the A wave might have been a 5-wave move. So I like that count. Well, I don't like it, but it's what I often see in the crypto sector. Yeah, and then you can actually draw a trend line here, see if the market is maybe moving in something that we might call an expanding diagonal. A bit useless to add a lower trend line there, but we might watch for a reaction at the top of the trend line, watch resistance, yeah. So that's sort of what I'm watching for on the weekend. Obviously, if we get a 5-wave move up above resistance, the low is likely in, but at the moment, I need the market to prove that, right? If we broke below initial support, which we did yesterday, then the market needs to prove that we get back above resistance to continue the uptrend. But looking at the bigger picture, as long as we're holding the orange box, there's nothing to worry about here. But even if we break below 3,208, the other box is just underneath. Next support, or next chance for it to rally. That's my update about Ether. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.